Hey, thought I'd give another update. Another weekend's gone. It's Sunday afternoon, and boy, I think I must have blew 20 hours in the garage. Good thing I'm not paid by the hour to be a mechanic, because it takes me a while to do stuff. You know what happens? You go and you have a beer, and then you wrench some more, and then you go have something to eat, and then you wrench some more, and then you got a honeydew list. This weekend, I thought this would be interesting. We've got a lineup here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 6. I think there's 7 there. I thought there was 7. Well, plus 1 on the car would make 7. 6 fuel pumps. I guess in the old days, people must have just threw these things out or replaced them. I don't know. Maybe through the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, people kind of lost interest in rebuilding them, because I've ended up with a pile of them for some reason. And I don't know, they're all kind of gummed up, of course. I took several apart, and the rubber is just chewed up from the ethanol in the fuel. I suppose they stopped working. Maybe that's why everybody changed them all the time. But I decided to do things the old-fashioned way and rebuild my pump. So I ordered a fuel pump rebuild kit. I didn't really order it by part number. I just looked up fuel pumps on eBay that looked a lot like my pump, and I ordered a kit. And it came, and the fuel pump wasn't working. I had an electric fuel pump on my Plymouth here. Had an electric fuel pump on it pretty much since I bought it. And I wanted to get away from that and go to a mechanical fuel pump again and have electric as a backup. I'm probably going to put the electric pump further down underneath the frame somewhere as a backup. And plus, if I suffer vapor lock, I can give it a little shot. So anyways, back to the fuel pumps over here. Took it all apart, rebuilt it, and found there's 2 different types. So I ended up scavenging parts out of some of these. And the part of kit I got was 99% right. It had a couple of wrong, the valves were the wrong size. There's little open one-way valves in there, the suck, and then it pushes it back out. The fuel comes through these little valves. And I guess the earlier ones, they were held in place by a screw and a retainer. The newer ones are just, you take like a little punch and you press them into place. And they're different size, believe it or not. So I was able to scavenge some stuff together. And I kind of like the glass bowl look, you know. Well, I like the glass bowl. This is boring to me. The bowl is gone. The bowl would go on the bottom here. So anyways, I scavenged them all together, and I put together one good pump and made it work. It's in the manual, of course. There's a breakdown of how the pump goes together. Don't be afraid to do this, folks. If you want to get your hands dirty and learn a few things, I recommend you rebuild a fuel pump. It's way cheaper than buying a new pump, I think, and they're made in China, so the quality's questionable. All those pumps that I showed you on my bench, every single one of them says either made in Canada or made in the USA on them. And the rebuild kits are cheap. I think it was 30 bucks on eBay. So we got her down there and spoiled myself, and I went with the glass bowl so you can see it down there. And one little tip I wanted to give you folks, the newbies again, the rookies that are learning. This is called a Mighty Vac. It's a little hand vacuum. And you hook up stuff and you can suck fuel or the vacuum up, and you can test your vacuum. That gauge is kind of screwed up, it's busted. It actually still works, just like the housing, I dropped it. So when I installed the new fuel pump and I put it on, it can take a while. You can crank and crank and crank and crank for a long time to get to prime that pump and get fuel through it. All I did is I disconnected the line right here, and I hooked it up to this, and I pumped it all through by hand, sucked it up, filled the bowl, brought the fuel up to here, jumped back in the car, fired it up, and it started right away. So there's no point in draining your batteries to do that. Little tip for you. Works good. Changed the oil pan gasket. I dumped the oil and washed out the block. We talked about that. I used some solvent, scraped out all the gunk, put on a new oil pan gasket, tighten everything up. That seems good. I didn't finalize my oil type for the summer driving season. I decided just to use up. I had a bunch of bottles of like 520, 530 laying around, because I'm just going to flush that through the engine for a while. That detergent oil is probably going to break down some more sludge, so I'm probably going to run it in the engine for maybe another month, maybe at the most. Then I'll drain it and put in fresh oil. I'll probably go with, like I said, a 1030. So that'll happen. I don't know what else I can show you. We got the seat back in, so we can actually drive the car now properly, safely. Kind of excited about that. Really good. I got the heater working too. I just basically ran 6 volts to it through a fuse, and it works. Put a little micro switch over here, actually, a little toggle switch for the heater. There. I don't know if that's a long-term solution, but it works. And being as it's April and we had snow this weekend, it's nice to have heat. So there you go. Next on the agenda, I don't know. I think it's time to go get some insurance and put this baby to the test, see how the radiator works. I got a feeling that radiator is coming out next, but I'm going to drive it and see what happens. Have a good one.